Hi, thanks for tuning in. Today I want to share my top tips and experience, my whole thoughts around the Hermes sales that happen in New York City. I'm sure a lot of you know that New York City had an Hermes sale in October. My experience is solely on the New York City Hermes sale. I've been to a couple now. I have a previous video sharing my entire journey and experience. I share some of my tips as well. I'll link that up above because I think it helps to see how different years the sale has played out. I also shared my experience in my most recent vlog, so I'll link that up above as well. So you can see what it was like this year. Because I've been to a couple of them now in New York City and they've had some differences, I wanted to point out what those differences are. I want to give my top tips for planning and what to expect. And I also want to do my best to help set some expectations and who I think the sale is really good for and who I don't think it's good for. If you're tuning in for the first time, hi, I'm Katie. I like to do these luxury fashion videos here on YouTube. I share hauls and reviews, but at the end of the day, I share my journey so we can all mindfully curate our own collections. So if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave a comment down below with any questions you might have about the Hermes sale. All of your support really means a lot to me. So in a nutshell, I've been to the Hermes New York City sale in 2019 and the most recent one in 2021. Both of them happened in October. So I hear that New York City will typically have two, one in the spring and one in the fall, though I have never attended one in the spring. I'd never heard of one in the spring. Both of the sale events that I attended were operated by, I might butcher this name, but I think it's Soifer Haskins. Do not quote me on the pronunciation of that one, okay? But I believe they're like a marketing consulting company, but they have a physical presence on, I think it's 33rd on the west side by like 8th Ave and 33rd Street. That's where the sale has happened. For both occasions, there was a VIP shopping day that happened on a Wednesday. The public sale opened on a Thursday and the sale went all the way until Saturday. So there's about 4 days of sale, 1 VIP day, and 3 days open to the public. Like I mentioned, both of them operated a little bit differently. There were some differences when I went this year. I don't know if it's solely because of COVID and they were trying to, manage people in a different way than they used to, or if it was that they just had a change in how they wanted to operate the sales. I'm not 100% sure, but there were some differences specifically around like a shopping time limit and the number of people in each group. I'll get into much more detail about that soon. So basically, I want to lay out what it's like to go to the sale. You'll arrive at that location and typically you'll see a line and you'll follow that line. Typically, it starts at the front of the building, but it will continue into what is affectionately known as the parking lot. It is an open lot of space between two buildings that has like a large fenced wire gate kind of thing. That's where the additional line will continue to kind of coil. And both times when I arrived, the line was already back there, so I went straight into the parking lot and stayed there. Once you get in that line and it's closer for your turn to enter the sale, then there will be folks coming out with wristbands. You know, those color wristbands that you get when you go to like a concert or festival or something. So you'll get one of those on your wrist and that will often indicate what group you're a part of. One of the main differences that I noticed this year was the size of the group was dramatically smaller than last time. Also keep in mind that in 2019, I went on the first day of the public sale. That was a Thursday. This year, I went actually on the last day of the sale, which was a Saturday. So there might be some differences that happened towards the end of the sale as well. But when I first went in 2019, I believe the groups were about 200 people. Anyway, the groups were still larger. This year, the groups are smaller at 40 people per group. It doesn't necessarily change a lot in my opinion. because it's the same number of people in front of you. So if you see wristbands running out in front of you, don't worry, they'll be coming back with a different color and set of numbers. It just means that that set of 40 is gone. So you get your wristband. Once you get your wristband, you'll be taken towards the entrance of the building. In 2019, you went straight into the building and you lined up inside for coat check. In 2021, that line moved outside and they were moving about 5 people into the building at any point in time to do coat check. So there's basically a separate line right outside to make sure everybody's able to, wait their turn for coat check. They do coat check for all jackets, coats, bags, hats, and scarves. Just keep that in mind. I wouldn't bring too much stuff if I were you. There are restrooms behind the coat check if you need to use them before you shop or after even. And then after you coat check, you basically line up at the base of the staircase and then they'll let you up. In 2019, when they let you up the stairs, there was actually another small line of about 10 or so people that would line up along the stairwell before you could enter the sale floor. In 2021, they let you up and that pretty much brought you straight into the sale. I was expecting to have to wait again on the stairwell, but that didn't happen. I think because they're managing more of the people outside, that's why you're able to go straight into the sale in 2021. Once you get in, the other main difference of 2021 was that they enforced a shopping time limit. On the last day when I went, it was 30 minutes shopping. And they were actually enforcing that. They would go on loudspeakers and they would say, red color wristbands up to number 20, like you now have to be in line to pay. And then a few minutes later, they were like, okay, all red wristbands have to be in line to pay. They were actually enforcing that, and there were people walking by sharing that same message, and sometimes they would check what wristband color you had. I'm sure there are still people who are kind of sneaking by anyway because no one's like grabbing your wrist to see what color you have. But for the most part, people were trying to do their shopping within that time limit. But the important thing I forgot to mention about the wristbands is that if you are not physically present when they are distributing wristbands, you will not be able to enter the sale. It doesn't matter if you showed up at 6 in the morning and you were waiting in line and you had just gone to the bathroom and your friend was holding your spot. They will not give an extra band out if you are not physically there when they are giving bands. If you take anything away from this, it is that you must be there when it's time for wristbands to come out. Basically, whenever you're along that last wall of the parking lot, I would just stay put until you get your wristband. In 2019, I witnessed drama of, I think someone was a line sitter and their person didn't actually show up in time. So the wristband was already on the person's wrist of the person who was sitting in the line. So they would not give one to the person who showed up after the fact. I'm gonna do my best to try to put in a quick kind of rough floor plan of how the sale is laid out. Keep in mind, this is subject to change. It can always change, but because I've been there twice, I noticed there's certain, it follows a pretty similar pattern. And I think especially if it's the first time you're going into the sale, it might be helpful to know where some of the things roughly can be. So once you enter, immediately to your right will be the cash registers. There will be the setup to line for the cash registers. From the entrance, if you turn left, that's where women's shoes will be all along that whole wall. It's pretty expansive. Usually the boots are closest to the entrance, and then all of the other styles are organized by size. Except for boots, they're all organized by size on the rack. From the entrance, main in the center is the table for scarves. There will be lots of different scarves in different styles. They have silks and they have cashmere scarves. They will also have lots of silk ties. I heard this year they had twillies. When I went in 2019, they did not have twillies. At least none that I could see when I got there. Usually on one side of that will be like the accessories. So hats, gloves, swimwear, those kinds of accessories will sort of be on one side of that scarves kind of area in the center. On the far back corner will be the jewelry case. And behind that will be an additional line setup. So you have to line up again if you wanted to check out any of the costume jewelry, and there's an additional 10-minute shopping time limit when it comes to costume jewelry. Basically, right behind the scarves tables will be the rails for clothing. It will be men's clothing and women's clothing. This year they had some homeware pieces as well. They didn't have that in 2019. I found those in the middle of that kind of ready-to-wear section in the back. All the ready-to-wear is organized by men's and women's wear, and then within each category there will be organized by size. Behind the ready-to-wear is going to be the racks of men's shoes. Also, men's shoes will be organized by size. In between the men's and women's shoes will be an entrance to a fitting room. I was surprised that the fitting room even existed, because who has time to try things on when you only have 30 minutes to shop? But it does exist. In case anybody ever really needs to use it, it is available in the back corner. There are purchase limits. That's pretty consistent from the last time I went in 2019 as well. When I went in 2019, jewelry was like you could buy 3 pieces, but one from a leather or horn category, one from a click-clack category, and one from like an enamel bangle slash bangle category. But this year, I think it was just a limit of 3 across what was available in costume jewelry. That's my understanding. I wasn't in that section, so I didn't pay too much attention, but I know there are purchase limits on how many pieces of jewelry you can buy. For homeware, there was a limit of 1 blanket, 1 pillow, 1 beach towel. For shoes, I think it was either 4 or 6 pairs of shoes. I can't remember 100%, but it was 4 or 6 pairs of shoes in women's category or men's shoes category. Silk scarves were a limit of 6 silk scarves. Cashmere scarves were limited to 4. I think there is a limit on ties, on silk ties, but I don't remember seeing the sign, but usually it's about, I think, 4 or 6 as well. As far as I know, I don't think there's a limit on any ready-to-wear, like how many ready-to-wear pieces you can get, or whether you're limited how many knitwear versus outerwear versus pants. Like, I don't think there is any sort of limit on ready-to-wear. There wasn't one that I could tell. When it comes to what styles are available in the actual sale, I think it really depends year to year, which is a really unfortunate answer, right? It really varies. For example, when I went in 2019, that's when I got this click-clack bracelet because they had click-clacks available. 2021, there are no click-clacks at all, not even on the first day. I was like following all the news on the sale, you know what I mean? And people were saying that there were no click-clacks. For shoes, for example, in 2019, there were no Orans, or even if there were, they were very limited, so probably mostly sold during that VIP sale. But 2021, there were Orans up until, I think, day 2, pretty much, maybe even day 3, because they do restock the sale. So I've seen plenty of pictures of people getting Orans from the sale this year. In 2019, there really were none. It really does depend on the year. Typically, I think the inventory itself or the designs themselves, I think are about 2 years old. But when it comes to classics, it's really difficult to know for a fact whether some of them will be available or not. What else can I share? Prices. Typically, prices are 50% off retail for all categories except ready-to-wear. I believe ready-to-wear is 60% off retail. And so you might be like, okay, so how much is that? I mean, it really depends on the style, because they have exotic shoes, which will run, like retail starts at like $5,000. So if you do math off of that, it's still $2,500. And then they have like your classic Orans that are, you know, $800 retail. So then they are $400. So just because it's the same Oran style doesn't mean it will be the same price. It will be all based on the original retail price. Ready-to-wear jackets, if any kind of ready-to-wear piece had some hint of leather on it, you automatically should start thinking that those will be in the 5 digits. I saw like a jacket that had some leather trimming on it that was like $13,000, so it would be 60% off of that. But you know, it all will really depend on the specific piece that you're looking at. Packaging. I also wanted to hint really quickly on packaging. So this is how your sale purchases will come home with you, basically. In these white bags, they use these fluorescent stickers to kind of shut them, and they will staple your receipt on the outside. This is how you're able to leave outside. Nothing comes with a box except for shoes. So I purchased these shoes in 2019, and the shoes are kind of already housed in their boxes, and you pull them out by the box. So really, shoes are the only thing that you get your box in. Your jewelry, scarves, ready to wear, pretty much everything else will not come with a box. Not only will the pieces not come with any packaging, they will all be stamped or marked with an S. Even the jewelry will have like an etched S in there. Everything will have some sort of S mark on it for you to know that it was a sale purchase item. All right, so I think that's everything to share for like an overview of the actual sale in New York City itself. I'll share more tips towards the end, but I think it's a good time to actually share the pieces that I picked up from the sale this year, because I'm sure some of you are really curious. For the pieces that I picked up in the 2019 sale, I would definitely refer to that video because I would have done much more justice. Plus some of those were gifts, so I've already given them away. I don't have them anymore. And you can get a good idea of some of the breadth of items that can be available at the Hermes sale. In 2021, when my boyfriend and I were going, we already knew which categories we wanted to focus on. We knew we wanted to skip jewelry. Because I heard there was homeware, what I prioritized the most was checking out the homeware section to see what they had, to check out the ready-to-wear section, and then to take a cursory look at shoes. So we pretty much did just that. We went straight to homeware. There were some really nice pieces. There was a beautiful blanket, actually, that I was tempted to get, but that one with the sale still would have been about $2,000, and I felt like at that point you could get your Avalon for full retail, so I decided not to get that blanket. They had some baby items this year, which was also really cute. I didn't have anyone to get that for, so that's why we didn't really spend too much time at the baby section. For shoes, I definitely felt like if your shoe size was larger, like a 40 or 41, then there were some good options still available. My size was like a 39, 38 and a half, you know, that kind of range. And I didn't find anything that was particularly like, I must have this. This is absolutely wonderful. Then I started focusing a little bit more on ready to wear. That's the category that we actually shopped from this year. I picked up this coat. It is a really pretty kind of mossy green color, and it's kind of like a green beige, if that makes sense. It is, on the tag, it basically calls it a light compact wool padded coat. The color is called Vert, the Imperial, so I guess it's like an imperial green color. But it's a wool coat, so this is the outer fabric is all wool, but it's slightly padded with a polyester fill on the inside, which I thought it was really interesting that this is probably going to be several seasons old, but this is really in line with a lot of the padded jackets that we're seeing now, like, you know, the quilted ones, in a similar color scheme and all of that. So I thought this was a really awesome item to have in my closet for like a long time, and that it would be a really great jacket to be able to throw on when it's not too cold outside. This is the back. And I just liked how simple it was in the front. The zipper is super smooth. I like the extra pockets. There are front pockets here, and then the flap on the side also has a little push button, if you see that detail. So I just liked all of that. And when I tried it on, it was nice and roomy, not too tight, and I felt like it was a really great piece. And personally, I thought the price point on this one was really great to get on sale. You know, I mentioned I saw like $13,000 jackets. This one retailed for like $3,200. So with 60% off, I thought this was actually a really great piece to have. It's still expensive, don't get me wrong, but I still thought it was a really great price point for the quality of the actual wool coat or wool jacket. The other piece we got are actually these pants. These are for my boyfriend. These are men's cotton track pants, basically. They look like this with a stripe down, and if you look closely, you'll see like there's like a subtle H in there. These are in the color marine, so it's like a slight navy with this orange stripe. And the price was great on these as well. I think retail was like $5.90 for those, so 60% off that. But that's actually all that we picked up from the sale this year. I feel like 2019, I purchased a lot more like smaller things, if that makes sense. Like I got some jewelry, shoes, silks, like I sort of went across a lot of different categories. But this year, homeware wasn't that great for me, so I'm happy focusing on ready to wear. I think I'm at that place maybe where I want to start adding pieces here and there. It all started in Hawaii, I guess. Now I want to share some of my top tips for planning, preparing, what to expect, all that kind of stuff for the Hermes sale in New York City. At least for the one that happens in October. The main thing I want to say, I saw so many people freezing in line. And so the one thing I want to say is it's in October. At least the ones that I've gone to happened in October. Please check the weather and please dress warmly. You're going to be standing still for a long period of time. You will get cold. Also, it was raining for us, so come prepared for inclement weather in the instance that it happens. That's why just check the weather before you decide to go for the sale. There's no golden rule of what time you should go, because every year there's a different amount of people who start lining up early. But I'd say if you really want to be part of the first wave of people going in on any given day, that you would want to go early in the morning and plan to wait a few hours before you're able to enter. Bring water, please hydrate. If you can, I think something like this is definitely helpful if you're able to go with someone, whether it's a friend, whether it's your partner. Going with at least one other person does help manage your place in line in instance that you have to use the restroom, or if you want to get coffee or you need to warm up a little bit, you're able to tag team, you know what I mean? So I do think it's a better event to go with someone, but I understand that might not always be the case. I feel like it's just basic decency to not be one person in line and then have 50 people show up, to be in your spot 3 hours later. I understand everyone will choose their own path, but it's just one of those things, Dress comfortably, but also be mindful of the fact that you're going to have to go through coat check. It's not that it kills a lot of your time necessarily. Well, actually, if you have absolutely nothing to coat check, then you would be first in line at the base of the stairs and you'd be able to go up sooner. So technically, yes, you can shave off a little bit of time there, but it's just the cumbersomeness of having to take all these things off, put them away, and you know what I mean? So I think dress comfortably, dress simply, and dress warmly for the weather. Oh, and make sure you are in line to receive your wristband. Do I think the sale is really worth it? I think so. I think the sale can be a good experience for certain people. I don't think it's that great for others, and I'll explain. I think the Hermes sale is great for people who want to have that experience. I think it's fun to go to once or twice. You don't have to go to every single one necessarily unless you really want to, right? But I think it's definitely a fun experience to try, to see what's available, to kind of be in that frenzy for a little bit. It can be fun. If you're interested for that experience, I think it's totally worth it. If you're looking to start growing your Hermes collection and the retail price points are really aspirational for you, but you still really want to have some Hermes pieces to start out your collection, then I think the sale can be a great place to start doing some of that. I want to caution everyone against buying things just because it's on sale, because then you might come home and totally regret doing that, or that's money lost on something that you will not really enjoy when you could have spent that same money either going towards something that you would like, even if it was full retail price, or you know what I mean? I was seeing lots of requests of people trying to now sell things that they purchased. They were like, oh, this didn't work out for me. Does anybody want it? It might not be as easy as you think it would to be able to sell those things to someone else who was not able to make it to the sale. Also, I always feel like scarves is a really good category where they have a good amount of inventory and they have a plethora of designs. So I feel like if you're primarily interested in scarves, then the Hermes sale can always be a good option for you, because they will most likely always have scarves and have a pretty good inventory of those. If you're interested in Hermes ready to wear, then I also think the sale could be a good avenue for you as well. you might have to dig a little bit to try to find the gems, you know what I mean? But they're there. I think they're there, and at 60% off, like that's a pretty good place to get Hermes ready to wear. I don't think the sale is good for folks who are looking pretty exclusively for the ultra popular and ultra classic styles. So this year, sure, there were Orans, but not everyone was able to get them. I think a lot of them sold out the first day, and then the rest of them pretty much sold out the second day of the public sale. If you're dreaming of getting like a gold CDC bracelet with matching gold Oran sandals, and you want to also get like maybe a pair of Oasis, like that's honestly too specific. The more specific you are for what you're looking for, I think there's a higher chance you're going to be disappointed and feel like the sale was not really worth it. I feel like the sale is a really great place to find the pieces that came out, the kind of interesting pieces that came out during that season, not necessarily like the super classic pieces that come out year after year. If you're someone looking for leather goods, I don't think the Hermes sale is that great for that. I think this year they might have had some belts at some point in time, but I didn't see any when I was there, and there are definitely no handbags and there are no SLGs. So if that's really what you're looking for, at least in New York City, the sale never really seems to include those categories. I think in Paris they do, or in London they might have. So it's sort of, it depends on where you are as well. But for New York City, as far as I know, I don't think they include leather goods. And this might be some of you might think this is really obvious maybe, but like, I don't think the sale is good for people who are looking for super cheap thrills, because this is still Hermes. And like I said, it's 50% off retail. It's not like all shoes are $150 or all, you know what I mean? It's not like a blanket price across everything. It's all proportionate discounts off of retail price. Hermes will have pieces that start at pretty extortionate prices. 50% off of that or 60% off of that is still great, but it's still a lot, because we started at a really extortionate price. For the folks really hoping to find like Hermes at like $100 or $50, you might be able to find some of those in the scarves, ties, some of the little accessories maybe. Like for the most part, when it comes to like shoes and ready to wear, like those categories, the prices aren't really going to be that low. They're not going to be like, you know, cheap thrills, $100, like woo, everybody party kind of price. I never knew I could talk about the Hermes sale for this long. I really hope this video isn't, again, 5 years long either. And I understand that the sale just happened, so this might seem like really late news or really disappointing to hear about now. The sales do happen periodically. My understanding is it's not always guaranteed to be every single year in New York City. I think in Paris it is. But New York so far, it's happening about every 2 years. In 2019, I think I heard someone in line say the last time they did a sale, it was a couple years ago. So it might be that they run it about every 2 years, maybe, something like that. But if anything, I get my information from the Purse Bop forum. I also get my information from Madison Avenue Spy on Instagram. It might seem disappointing to find a video like this now and be like, oh my God, the sale just ended. I wish I knew this beforehand. But why I'm spending so much time sharing all of the details on the Hermes sale right now is because I want to share all the details when it's fresh, because I just came back from it. But also, I hope that you're able to store some of this information, tuck it away somewhere in your mind palace. And the next time you hear murmurs of a sale happening, you'll be able to recollect and have these tips like right at your fingertips so that you know what to do and you're better prepared for it. But did you attend the Hermes sale? Like, how was that for you? Let me know if you were able to score some awesome pieces from the sale this year. I would love to hear what your experience was like. If you have any other questions on the Hermes sale or really anything at all, feel free to leave them down below or head on over to Instagram and I'd be happy to help however I can. If you like this video and you found it helpful, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate all of your feedback and support. If you like this kind of content and you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I post new fashion-related videos every Sunday and Wednesday. So until next time, bye!